We've got the dog park up that away somewhere. Dogs are running around happy. Nice Sunday. Welcome one, welcome all to the very first video I've got. I'm Jonathan Woodhall, and I want to share with you today how to fall asleep. I've got all my notes here so I don't forget a thing. But I wanted to start off this video with a quote, one of my favorite quotes actually, and it's called, "Only by seeking can one find." So the whole point of this video right now is to talk about my journey of how I learned to fall asleep, and ultimately what I learned and how it can be valuable to you. But most of all, I want you to walk away from this video with confidence and faith in yourself that you can do it. Because when I started, I most definitely was not in a place where I was confident and knew how to do that. I'm gonna break this video down into 3 different little chapters. Chapter 1 is gonna be my personal experience. I wanna start with my personal experience because I want you to understand how hard it was. When I first started to learn how to sleep, I knew nothing. As a matter of fact, I came from a place of disadvantage. And that's why I want to explain that to you sort of in a bit of depth, so that no matter where you're coming from, you can understand that you can do it too. Chapter 2 is the journey that I took of how I learned to fall asleep, and then I'm going to break it down. And then chapter 3 will be the conclusion, my final thoughts, and then voila, my sleep routine. Quick disclaimer, I only want to share what I have learned and what I would do. If you're suffering from something much deeper, like a sleep disorder or a much deeper problem than that, then I would advise you to go seek professional help. Go seek a doctor. I'm an average guy who's gone down this road before, and this video is intended for the average person looking to learn how to fall asleep and learn the skills of how to fall asleep. And hopefully what I've been through can help you. So, my background, I never learned how to fall asleep when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, or a young adult growing up. And basically sleep time for me just meant laying in bed for hours until suddenly I woke up in the morning and somehow I fell asleep. But I mean, it was just miserable. Now, why was sleep such a miserable experience? First of all, because sleep was used as a punishment sometimes, which is not something that I would advise parents to do. Now, my parents didn't mean anything by it, but it was sort of on the rare occasions when it happened, because it didn't happen very often. But if you want to teach someone that sleep is a good thing, it should never be used as a punishment. I also didn't want to go to sleep because, when you're a child, the cool kids are the ones that stayed up late. Like, I'm pretty sure they were lying. But, you got the cool kids at school. They're the ones who don't have a bedtime. And if you had a bedtime, it was like, you're a baby, So I was very mentally resentful and against the idea of going to sleep anyway. Worst of all, and this might make you laugh a bit, I didn't want to go to sleep because if I went to sleep, it meant that today would end and tomorrow would begin. So right off the bat, you can see that where I was at in life was a pretty miserable freaking place. But then again, we all go through high school, and I don't think anybody here truly enjoys high school. Or the first couple of jobs that I had were just absolutely freaking miserable. I was just loathing going to work the next morning. I'm happy to say that that's since changed. The kind of job I have now is one that I enjoy going to. But back in the day, I just did not want to go to bed because that meant my free time was over, and then when I woke up, the next day would begin. If you're suffering from that kind of problem, then an entire lifestyle change might be necessary. It might be time to go. If it's Sunday night and you're thinking, oh crap, another week is about to begin, it might just be time to think about finding a new career path or a new job or a new something. Things changed quite a bit when I was around 19, 20 years old because I went through a really bad OCD phase for another video. And during that time, I was prescribed a medication called Seroquel. Now, Seroquel is meant to be it's an antipsychotic. I think it's made for people who have schizophrenia, but it's prescribed for people who have OCD. And it's also prescribed as a sleep aid, although it was never designed to be a sleep aid. So I found that it didn't help me much, but it did work as a sleep aid. So I clung on to that and I kept it. It was exactly what I wanted at the time. Like having spent 2 decades of not really knowing how to go to bed, suddenly I had control over it. I could just take this pill, and within an hour I would get so drowsy it would just knock me out and I would have to go to sleep. Problem solved, right? Yeah. So everything felt fine for about 15 years until, oh gosh, how old was I? I'd say I was in my kind of early 30s. I'm 36 now, but I guess I was, in my early 30s. And then finally I was about 35 years old when I started to really get scared because, number one, like I said, this was an antipsychotic. It wasn't meant for me. So I'm like, immediately it's like after all these years of taking a medication that really wasn't even designed for me, really scared me and weirded me out. Also, let's take a look at the long-term effects of taking something like Seroquel. It messed with my metabolism, made me crave junk food, which led to really significant weight gain. You're at risk of developing type 2 diabetes if you take this medication long-term. Restless leg syndrome, which is something that I would get when I took it, but just imagine if you were just sitting here and all of a sudden your arm just did that on its own and you're like, I don't know, it's like a tremor that just shows up and you have no control over. I was getting things like that, and if I continued to take Seroquel long-term, I was risking getting that permanently. That freaked me the hell out. So at this point in time, I was 35 years old, and I had never learned how to fall asleep. But I had to get off this medication because I'd already been on it long-term. It's like, well, if I keep staying on it, I think it's only a matter of time before some really bad side effects come in. But I made the decision that I needed to learn how to fall asleep. I mean, to be 35 years old and not have any skills or knowledge on how to fall asleep is not a good place to be in. But yeah, I just finally made that decision that it was time to learn. But I was at a complete disadvantage because I literally knew nothing. So, chapter 2, learning how to crack the code. Anything is a problem until it's no longer a problem. Every problem that any person has encountered up until this point has already been encountered by someone else, and someone else has already found a solution for it. So I figured, okay, all I need to do is figure out how to crack this code, and then I'll get to keep it forever. So decision number 1, how did I learn to fall asleep? And I suppose this is where the journey begins for you as well. Making the decision. Absolutely just saying, nope, I'm gonna figure out how to fall asleep. So that was step number 1. Step number 2 that I took was, okay, when am I gonna actually practice this? My unique problem was that I was dependent on Seroquel. If I went traveling somewhere and I forgot it, I was screwed. I would not fall asleep until the early hours of the morning. I didn't know how to fall asleep on my own. So I was completely dependent on this medication. And the problem was, if I mixed it with something else, I'd feel sick the next day. Like if I tried to take melatonin and it didn't work, and I took Seroquel to put myself to sleep anyway, the next day I would just feel hungover and sick all day. And I'm a woodworker, so I can't go into work the next day feeling sluggish, and I would be dangerous to myself and to others. And the first sort of action that I took was figuring out, when am I going to put this into practice? And looking at my schedule, I had to get up extra early every single day of the week. I was busy on Sundays, but I figured out that being able to experiment on Friday was acceptable, because if I screwed up completely and I just slept terribly, I could at least have the saving grace of a Saturday sleep-in. Okay, the next decision that I made, and I thought this was highly valuable, was just making the decision to educate myself. I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about how to fall asleep, so let's learn. So I bought a book called How to Fall Asleep by Rafael Pelayo. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I highly recommend this book because there's a lot of information in this book that I'm not going to talk about in this video. I'm just going to talk about the things that I found really useful. But getting a whole encompassing view of sleep, the science of sleep, and how it works, the purpose of it, and everything you need to know was really in this book. And I learned a lot about how to create a sleep routine by reading this. So let's go through the biggest lessons that I learned from this book. I'll start with the biggest lessons that I learned first and last. So one of the most important lessons I learned from this book is that sleep will come. It is a natural function of human biology. So if you're stressing out and you need to get to sleep and you're stressing out about it, at least you can soothe yourself and know, listen, you will fall asleep. It is a natural function of the human body. Sooner or later, sleep will come. So you can at least rest easy knowing that you will fall asleep. I also learned that most sleep problems come from bad behaviors and also bad beliefs surrounding sleep. Interesting psychology lesson there. I learned a lot about sleep cycles and the circadian rhythm. This one was very important. I learned that the circadian rhythm, is controlled by light. This is often why people sleep longer during the winter and sleep shorter during the summer. But it makes total sense. I mean, like as hunter-gatherers through evolution, we would rise with the sun and we'd fall asleep with the sun. That was what sort of activated it, and that's what we evolved to. But the thing is, our brains cannot tell the difference between artificial light and real sunshine. So if you're trying to go to sleep, seriously, if you're trying to go to sleep and you've got your phone out, or if you're watching television, your brain actively blocks your ability to go to bed. Part of my sleep routine now, which I'll get into more later, is taking melatonin. And it's almost like there's a guard there. It's like the guard is there in your brain, and as long as sunshine's coming in, if my melatonin starts to kick in, which I've taken, it's almost like it goes, no, don't allow the melatonin to pass. The sun hasn't gone down yet. Don't go to sleep yet. Block it. Unless there is darkness, the melatonin cannot activate. This is why either darkness or wearing glasses that block out blue light are so important when going to bed. Exercise helps you sleep better. Maybe not right before you go to bed, don't do exercise then, but it tires out the body, and it's almost just common knowledge now that exercise makes you sleep better. Meditation helps with sleep because it helps you calm your mind. If you're the type of person who tries to go to bed, but you're ruminating over thoughts and problems, I know I certainly do. It's not always thoughts and problems. Sometimes I'm just daydreaming while I'm trying to go to bed. But meditation, mindfulness meditation, can help you kind of calm the mind and help you go to sleep. But it takes a while to develop the meditation muscles, so you may want to practice meditation for 10 minutes a day for 8 weeks or so. I know it's a long time, but you might want to practice it and let it develop for that long before you throw it out as something that won't work. Avoid alcohol. It prevents good sleep. White noise can help as long as there are no loops or sudden interruptions. And as I just commented, blue light receptors prevent you from sleeping. Getting up and going to the bed at the same time every day. Awesome. Why don't you go to sleep, huh? Yeah, enforcing a good circadian rhythm in the morning is important as well. That means waking up, drinking water, letting light enter your eyes so that your brain can start to wake up again. I also do morning cardio, morning fasted cardio, and cold showers in the morning, but I guess you don't have to do those two. I'm a little extreme on that one. But the number one thing I learned from reading this book is that you've got to develop a sleep routine. And I never really thought of that, but I mean, it makes total sense. I mean, when we wake up in the morning, we have a morning routine, and it also takes us maybe an hour to an hour and a half to kind of really wake up. Some people need, their morning coffee or whatever your morning routine is. But it makes total sense. It takes just as much time to try and fall asleep, to get into sleep, as it is to come back out of it. So the number one thing I learned from this book was that I needed to develop a sleep routine. So yeah, my first recommended step to you if you're having trouble falling asleep is to educate yourself if you haven't already. Learn about it. Learn about falling asleep. There's so many things I learned, so many bad habits that I learned about that was preventing me from falling asleep. Not even necessarily things that would help me fall asleep, but things that would stop me from falling asleep. I learned about them from reading this book, so I highly recommend it. Go check it out. Go check out this awesome book. Go read more books about it. I mean, you might learn something even beyond that wasn't mentioned in this one book. So yeah, step one, educate yourself. I would recommend picking a book and reading it. I did this one on Audible, so I didn't even have to read it. I just listened to it. There you go. If you're having trouble sleeping, grab a book about sleep and learn about it while you've got the time. All right, so after getting educated, the next step that I had to take was figuring out how to develop my own personal sleep routine. And I had Friday nights to practice it. So, what did I do? I started actually just asking around. I mean, if there was someone who I suspected had really good sleep habits, like they always had good energy, or whatever, I just started asking around. I just started asking, what's your sleep routine? And these were some of the ones that stuck out to me. I had one friend who uses 5-HTP to help him fall asleep. I tried it, didn't really work for me, but that's his sleep routine, is taking this product. My father uses meditation. To me, that one was the most fascinating sleep routine. You see, my dad learned early on in life that laying down and breathing deeply. Now, my father is born in 1946, so total boomer. But he didn't have a lot of the resources that I had. He had to figure out his own sleep routine. But he says he lays down, closes his eyes in the dark, and does deep breathing. And eventually meditation. And then after a while of doing that, he would eventually fall asleep. And through a lifetime of doing that, he's basically the master of using meditation to fall asleep. So laying down, deep breathing at a moment when he knows he wants to go to bed. He also goes to sleep and gets up at the same time every day. He's highly disciplined. But he'll be asleep in 5-10 minutes. He has no trouble learning how to fall asleep, and he did it naturally through practice. I tried the same thing, didn't really work for me. This was a neat one. Some people that I met and talked to swore by having a 5-minute mental dump right before going to sleep. So basically they would have some scheduled thinking time, and they would just sit down with a piece of paper and they would just write down everything that was on their mind, anything that was bothering them, things that they had to do, things that they were thinking of, and they would just vomit all their thoughts out onto the page. Then they would set it down and read it first thing in the morning. But that was a good way of, like, if there's something on your mind, if there's a problem that you need to, little mosquito, get out of here. If there's a problem that needs resolving, you can't really do that while you're sleeping. Might not be a bad idea to ask your brain, because our brains are problem-solving machines. Might not be a bad idea to ask your brain the question before falling asleep and seeing what the answer is in the morning. But you can't solve problems while you're asleep. It's just going to keep you awake. So putting it on the page is a good way of letting it go and just saying, all right, we're going to put this on pause. We're going to go to bed. And some friends swore by that. And sometimes I do that. I had a family friend named Robert Moon who he took CBD oil to help him go to sleep. I never tried that because of the association with marijuana, but that was his sleep routine. And my sister Natalie drinks hops tea and falls asleep while with her headphones on while listening to sleep vibrations. I never really looked those up or gave it a try, but I tried the hops tea and that unfortunately didn't work for me. But my sister recommended hops tea, and then that put me on a bit of a rabbit hole, and then I don't even remember how, but I discovered valerian. So I thought, all right, well, I'm trying all these things and none of them are working, but I got to keep trying. I keep trying them every Friday. It had been 3 months of consistent trying by this point, and I hadn't cracked the code. So what the heck, I'll try this valerian. So I tried the valerian. I knew to keep my lights turned off because I knew that it would block melatonin, and holy shit, I fell asleep. I woke up the next morning and thought, no, really? Did I just do it? Did I actually just cracked? Well, let's try it again. So I tried it again the next day, same routine. I took my bit of melatonin, bit of valerian, lights out, darkness. I listened to like a podcast or something, and then eventually I just got drowsy, turned it off, and then fell asleep. And bam, there it was. And now I've got that answer for life. So that's the information that I would like to impart onto you. By testing, by being persistent, by asking other people about their sleep routines, and just slowly getting 1% better. It's like that same philosophy in Atomic Habits. You don't have to do grandiose gestures to learn how to fall asleep. You just need to get consistently better. And that's just what I did. And it was very slow. Like I said, I could only practice one new thing every week and rule out what worked and what didn't, until one day I stumbled onto the thing that did work for me. So in conclusion, a problem is a problem until it isn't. Once you discover that solution, you get to keep it for life. It took me 3 months of effort, but sleep is the foundation for everything. It's your brain and body's recharge to get your energy for the next day. So if you're having a lot of trouble with that, take it on. It's a worthwhile battle. But most of all, you can do it. Take it from me. I spent the first 35 years of my life not learning how to fall asleep, resenting sleep, not knowing any good habits. They don't exactly teach you these things in school. I didn't learn any good habits. I didn't have any knowledge, and I was at a disadvantage because I was dependent on medication to fall asleep. But I still found a way to do it. So even if you're at a disadvantage, I believe that the only reason you're having trouble sleeping is because of your own individual problem. I don't know what your mosquito. I don't know what's preventing you from falling asleep. But only by seeking can one find. Maybe I'd recommend taking the steps that I took, getting educated, and then just trying things, try healthy things, of course. Some people, I heard of some people who drank alcohol and mixed them with antihistamines to fall asleep, but that is not a good way to fall asleep because it might knock you out, but you're not going to have good quality sleep. You're just not. So try healthy routines. But by trying that, educating yourself and asking other people what their routine is, and then trying your own sleep routine, remember, that is one thing that I would definitely impart onto you, is you need to have a sleep routine. Figure it out for yourself, what works best for you. But you can do it. I came from a huge disadvantage, but I freaking well did it, and you can too. Okay, so what is my sleep routine? So my sleep routine is I take 1,600 milligrams of valerian and 10 milligrams of melatonin before bed. That's a bit high on the spectrum, but after experimenting with dosage levels, I found that was my threshold. Again, you got to find your own thing. I'll take that, and then immediately after, lights out. Darkness. Because again, if light's going into my eye, it sends a signal to my brain that says, don't let the melatonin go through, the sun hasn't gone down yet. So, darkness, I'll put on my ghost stories. I'm a little bit crazy. I'll listen to Mr. Grimed or Nightmare Fuel while I'm going to bed, and I like listening to ghost stories. That's my thing. As long as whatever you're listening to doesn't wake you up. So I'll do that, and then after about an hour of the darkness and the time for the melatonin to kick in, I eat it on an empty stomach, by the way. Mixing with food slows it right down. But after about an hour, I usually am ready to turn the phone off and go to sleep. And I have control. And holy shit, is it ever liberating. Am I ever glad I just experimented and slowly kept trying and just asked people and just slowly got better. It was a fight that was very worthwhile to take on. And what the heck, 35 or not, it was, you're never too late to learn how to fall asleep. I mean, because once you have that solution, you've got it for life. I mean, I get to sleep now for life without any issues. I'm no longer dependent on this stupid pharmaceutical medication that was not helping me, that was being detrimental to my health, and may have done worse things to me down the road. So anyway, those are the steps that, so yeah, if you want one more little recap here, what are the steps? Make the decision to fall asleep, educate yourself, and then start looking into creating your own sleep routine. Because, I mean, I gave you lots of examples of other people's sleep routines and even mine, but that might not be your sleep routine. But figure out your sleep routine. It is totally, totally worth it. I guarantee it. All right, so there it is. This is Quasar's Corner. I'm Jonathan Woodhull signing off. Leave your questions or comments down below. I'd love to hear what your sleep routine is. You might even be able to offer someone else reading in the comments section something that I didn't mention in this video. But if you're only going to take away one single thing from this video, it's that you can do it. Look at the disadvantage that I came from. I knew nothing. I was dependent on sleeping with a pharmaceutical medication, but I still just, by seeking, can one find.